Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Backholder Pod. So just a few days ago, Nvidia reported their earnings. It was a huge beat on the top and bottom lines. As our fellow backholder, Bunti is the only investor smart enough to own Nvidia. Can you give us a quick breakdown of the earnings and what do you make of it?
Okay, I'll do some screen sharing. Hold on a second. Okay, can see, right? Okay, let's do a quick review on the latest financial quarters. So you can see here, the revenue actually like shoot up to the moon from last quarter of 7.2 billions, now suddenly go up to 13.5 billions. They actually guided quite a high number last quarter, but then they actually achieved a numbers that is even higher than their own guidance. And you can see that gross margin also increased from 64% to 70%. Operating expenses, you see, just increased a little bit only. And that's why you see the operating incomes just shoot up from 2.1 billion to 6.8 billions. This is like 3 times higher in like just one quarter. And then net income similarly from 2.0 billions to 6.2 billions. And now the diluted earnings per share, the EPS, right, is about $2.50. If you analyze these numbers, right, it's like about $10 per year earning per share, $10. So, and they are still guiding for even higher numbers for next quarter and quarters to come, right? So the questions now is that people always say that, oh, the company is overvalued. You look at the price over sales, price over earnings looks very overvalued. But have you factored in that now the earning per share is a lot higher just compared to, last quarter or the quarter 1 year before, which is only, like 26 cents per quarter. So it really shoot up a lot. That means it shows the fundamentals is improving and really shoot up a lot. That's why people are going crazy about it. And then if you look at the components of the earnings, right, like how they break down their line of business, you can see that most of the increase actually came from data center. This is the chip that they sell to people's that bought all these chips to powering up their ChatGPT or their all these generative AI tools. So the other lines of business are rather stable. You see, not much has changed for gaming. For professional visualizations, also about quite stable. Auto business actually came down a fair bit, and OEM and others also dropped a little bit. So all this growth, right, coming from the data center business. And when I invested into Nvidia, right, I already noticed that what is their future is all about the data center business. It's not so much on the gaming business, the GPU cards that they sell to all these gamers, right? You see here, last time when people didn't realize that it is like AI companies, right? The gaming business was still much higher compared to the other line of business. But it has since then, you see the data center business from 3 billions already moved up to now 10 billions and still going up a lot, right? So I think this is why the perceptions on the company has changed dramatically, and hence the valuations of the company also has been adjusted upward. I think I won't go into much details. The last one I want to share here is the comments given by Jensen Huang, the CEO, and he explained why he's very bullish on his companies now. Okay, I think one thing is that he talked about this accelerated computing for many times, like for many years already. He has been repeating the same message and again and again. Basically, what he's saying is that the entire all these all this data center business, right? The entire sectors, the size is like 1 trillion. Here's 1 trillion of global data centers. This 1 trillion, right, will transitions into accelerated computing. Meaning they are taking away the business or the capex spend on the CPU to GPU, and Nvidia, their business is really into the GPU. So that's one. And then there's also all sorts of reasons why you should bullish on this GPU. The first thing is that all this their architecture is very versatile, and then they accelerate everything, right, from processing, training, inference, all the AI models, and they are in this area for like 10 or 20 or 2 decades, 1 or 2 decades already, meaning that they have a lot of experience in this area. And then secondly, they have a large installed base. This will always help. Maybe Kevin also can share your perspective, because I think when it comes to developers, they want to develop on the platforms that the other developer already own, so that they can leverage on what has already been built, right? So the install base also help them a lot. And then thirdly is their reach, because now they are everywhere, right? You talk about like clouds, public cloud, private cloud, even like small, like the desktop PC that help with all this GPU, AI training and so on, and inference. So they are everywhere. So they have different products line that serve different types of workloads. So I think this one definitely is their strength, because they have been building on this area for so many years, right? So I think that's just a quick summary on their results. Overall, the results really, really impressive. That's why, and later maybe Eric will share on the stock chart, right? You can see that the share price also went up quite a lot from just 6 months or 1 year ago, right? So I'm very bullish on the companies, and I held on to my shares and still holding on now.
Eric, do you have any feedback?
No, I just want to ask, right? Earlier on, when you were showing the earnings trend, right? Like, maybe you can pull that up again for us. The most recent quarter actually went up like substantially. I think it's like, the earnings, right, went up. No, the other one, the one with the this trend.
This is revenue.
Sorry, the revenue trend. So you can see that the data center actually jump up like almost like 2.5 times. Yeah. Like did you see that coming as an investor? Like, is it like obvious to you that data centers would jump up so much, and would this trend actually continue?
Yeah, this one, definitely, I can tell you, nobody sees it coming, right? If I saw it coming, I would all into one stock like 6 months ago. Really cannot tell. But what we can tell is that, when we talk about like all this generative AI, like accelerated computing, I mean, from their language, it sounds very fancy, but from us as a consumers, right? I have used ChatGPT for many months now, like at least 6 months now, right? And I do see the magic coming from the ChatGPT, right? So you can tell that this is definitely something that's different compared to, let's say, Google search. It's different. The architecture is different. How it works is different. And we can ask ourselves, like, what is powering all these services, right? What is running on the back end to able to come up with this kind of like magic products, right? The answer is like all these Nvidia offerings, right? Which is their server, their chip that's powering this. And we can ask ourselves, like aside from Nvidia, is there any companies can replace them? As of now, the answer is no. So that's why everyone is like scrambling, just like orders from Nvidia, and all these demands is like so much higher than the supply. So I would say there's reasons to believe that yes, they are doing well, they are dominating in this area, but in terms of the magnitude, like can we actually guess like how much it is? I think it's very hard. I would say impossible. That's why I also didn't all into these companies, right? It's just like when the results were bad, I averaged down a little bit, and then it shoot up, and it's like I'm too slow to buy into it, because the share price always run the fundamentals, right? Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
just
yeah.
now you talked a little bit about the CPU and GPU. Do you mind like just explaining again what is the difference between these two? Sorry, I'm a noob at computing stuff.
Yeah, actually, before we started just now, I wanted to use this background as this picture as a background. I think this one is to explain what's the difference between the CPU and GPU. So it looks quite complicated, but I think the main takeaway is that the architecture is totally different. So CPU, right? They when they do the so-called the compute, meaning they calculate on a serial basis, meaning you calculate A, then from A to B, and then to B to C and D. It goes like we call it serial calculations lah. But when it comes to GPU, what they are super good at, right, is that they don't do this kind of serial calculations. They do matrix calculations, meaning that they calculate all at once. Like how they do it is, you see, this side. I think this side is the GPU. So I think this is the right one. Correct me if I'm wrong. What they do is that they have all these very tiny processor. Each of them are actually very, very like low powered. They are not strong chip to calculate the core. It's very small. But what good thing is that each of them are assigned a memory so that they can calculate all these calculation at once. And why they have to use this kind of architecture is also because initially GPU only used in display. So when it comes to display, imagine that now you are looking at me, right, on your screen, right? These are all different pixels. How many pixels could be millions of pixels, right? They cannot do calculations one at a time, right? Meaning that the pixel coming in, one after another. It has to come together at once, right? So that you can look at the pictures, right? So this one you require a matrix calculations so that it project at once. So that's why it's very useful for like visualizations. Gaming also same. You cannot do pixel calculation one by one. You have to do it at once. So that's why they really need this kind of architecture to do the computes and to come up with the effects that they want. So this is the start. Then after that, they noticed that actually all this GPU is not just useful for visualizations and not just useful for display. It's also very useful for AI calculations or for what they call the general purpose GPU, meaning that they use this kind of calculations and apply it on general purpose computing. So, but this one is getting a bit more technical, but I think the takeaway is that the architecture is different. You cannot substitute one against another. It all is different from the architecture standpoint. Then like when you switch over to, if you can change your calculations to the GPU side, right? The good thing is that it's very, very fast, very efficient in terms of the energy consumptions now. So, but you need to change a lot of things, including the code. Everything has to be so-called, upgraded or changed so that it can make use of the different architecture. And for AI, right? AI must use this kind of architecture. Cannot use CPU. Just not powerful enough to do it. Yeah.
I will try to summarize what Bunti said, because that was what I studied on the show of a bit. CPU is a bit more suitable for logic calculation. So if you say if this happens, then this happens, it's a logic thing lah. If this, then that. CPU is very good at that. But GPU is better at calculation. So like what Bunti said. So 1 + 1, GPU will perform this 1 + 1 a lot faster than CPU. So this is very good for rendering, for graphics processing. Like let's say if you look at a refraction of a water surface, each pixel is you are refracting at a certain angle to somewhere else. So GPU is very good at calculating every single pixel in parallel, whereas CPU has to do it in serial, one by one. Yeah, so that's a simple explanation. What's the difference?
I think the keyword is important. The parallel computings, they do it at once together, or firing
whereas
at the same
for
time.
CPU is they say multi-core, right? 4 cores. So CPU can only do like 4 core equals 4 in parallel. But for GPU, is every chip is a parallel thing.
The chip, right? The computer chip that we have in our desktop, right? When they say like dual core or what core, is that the same core that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the CPU.
That's the CPU core.
So no wonder when we open up a lot of tabs, right, then the thing is very slow, right? So if I switch over to GPU, it means that it will be very fast.
You can't switch over because GPU is only good for calculation, whereas the tab is more of logic.
Oh. Okay.
because your CPU, in order for it to run, right? For example, you are running Windows or Mac, right? The things cannot run parallel, except for the one that's supporting the display, the visualizations part. Just the normal, like let's say you're powering up your Excel or all these things, right? By default, you have to calculate one after the other. They process serially. It's not the parallel processing. Yeah. Just different. You have to remember the hardware and software, right? They all need to be on the same page. Software need to be upgraded in order to leverage on the hardware. So that's why they have to come together. And right now, our PC, all this, actually including like your iPhone, your iPad, all these are actually still is using the mostly CPU. I think that's the most important one. Of course, there will be other GPU core and to help up with parallel processing, but usually they are small subset of the compute. Yeah. But just now, Eric, you asked about the how should we expect the future revenue, right? Maybe I share screen and show you this part which I missed just now. So just like I mentioned, right, the most recent quarter they have revenue of 13.5 billions. So for the coming quarter, they are guiding 16 billion. But again, I think for investors, right, they look at 16 billions, they already tend to price in that Nvidia will actually achieve numbers that's higher than 16 billion. So they are usually they are conservative in terms of their estimate. So yeah, they're still projecting higher revenues coming in over next quarter, and over the quarters ahead, right? It should be higher, but this visibility is only up to next year. After that, no one knows.
Eric, as our chief astrologer, what do you think of the share price?
Yeah, okay. Let me just try and share. So this is the chart. Yesterday I was telling you guys, I was looking at this chart, right? I really don't know how to draw like support resistance, and the way that the stock is moving, right, is like up down $100. The way it zoomed past 300, right, after it done like from about $116, $12, it rallied all the way up to 300, right? And then some Nvidia shareholders are like, okay, that's near the previous peak, 315 thereabouts. Then they thought that, okay, it's done. Then they start selling and everything. After that, in one single candle, high volume, it shot right all the way through almost to 400. So it's $100 move, like Bunti say, right? I don't think any technical trader would have like seen this coming. Okay, maybe those intraday one, like very short time frame, they might have caught this long candle here, but I don't think anyone would have foresee that after such a long rally, there's no breathe in, breathe out. So you breathe in and then breathe in some more. Like it went up rocket so much. I don't know how to draw the trend line. Like it went vertically almost like 70 degrees. So this is very difficult for me to like see where's the support, resistance, and all that. Maybe you can talk about it. Like 400 would be the near term support, but really I can't do the trend line. It's too steep already.
Okay, I just show my DCF lah. Probably easier to explain. The dollar, the discount cash flow of Nvidia. Here I'm taking actually from what I checked from Google, Yahoo, they are projecting 100% growth rate for the next 5 years lah. At this rate, I think it can actually hit 100% growth rate lah. It's 108.
But not 5 years, right? 100% for 5 years means
that's what it shows lah. But personally, I feel like okay, I'll be a lot more conservative. Let's do it 50% instead lah. As for the discount rate, I get it from their the WACC calculation, the WACC, weighted average cost of capital. And the result is the intrinsic value is at $202, which means Nvidia is 55% overvalued right now. But I get it that this overvalue it actually may be sustainable in the short term because it's delivering a higher growth, right? And like Pudi said, there's no one can replace Nvidia right now. And this is like another gold rush for AI. So everyone is trying to buy up of Nvidia's GPU to start making that stuff. But I would say that this thing, it will only continue until something big happens. So like, okay, for the Nvidia share price, right now is their PE is I think over 100. So for this 100 PE rally to continue, Nvidia has to continue delivering high growth, and nothing else has to come in between them and the earnings lah. So what can go wrong? From what I see, there are a few things lah. Okay, first is the US, the inflation. It seems like in control right now. But also their high interest rate, I think it haven't really affected the company earnings yet. Everything still seems very strong right now. So it may take a few more months to happen. But maybe Nvidia is immune to that. Okay, then what is the next thing? You know that right now, Ukraine and Russia, the war has become a bit weird. Ukraine has actually started to hit back at Russia already. They're starting to bomb their Moscow capital. Let's see. Oh, I don't have any map. But basically they're doing drone strikes on Russia. So there's a huge risk. Moscow, I don't know, they might escalate this thing. What about China and Taiwan? Okay, that I feel it's a low risk thing. But basically there's a lot of things that can happen. And once these things happen, Nvidia will just correct back down to the normal share price at 200 intrinsic value. Maybe not, maybe it won't drop back so much. But I'm just saying that this overvalue just means that eventually a mean reversion has to happen. If it did not, it can continue this rally for a while longer.
So the big question now is, can buy or not?
Yeah, actually, Bunty, will you what price would you buy at?
Yeah, let me see. Where's my chart? Wait, give me a second. I need to show yesterday chart later need to earn Eric's respect. So this one is the chart that I show Eric and Calvin last night. Eric come and dare me to show this chart on the pod on. Then I show it's okay one. So I think the trick, right, to come up with this chart versus the one that Eric showed just now, right, is that first thing we need to look longer, and then secondly we need to make the chart become exponential. So if you look at the chart on an exponential scale, right, actually it's not that crazy. You see, they are from about 2011 until now, they've been on this channel up, and it looks like if you just judge based on momentum, right, it's still going up, like so going up. Whether they can reach to $18,000 or not, I let you decide. So I'm not going to tell you that for sure it will go up that high. But I think one thing to note is that you can say, okay, judging from momentum perspective or from technical perspective, the company is doing well, and even Professor Damodaran also said that the companies is always in front of others. So what I want to say is that if the companies, they have a foresight to get into the areas that before others are in there, and then for the areas that haven't exist yet, and they're going to create a new area there for all this generative AI and so on. So you can tell that the management is extremely good at executing, at thinking ahead of others, right? That's why they are able to secure this entire accelerated computing, and even other companies like AMD and others, they try to break into that also very hard because of how long they have been building in this area. So judging from momentum perspective, let's say if you haven't buy into the stocks, you don't want to FOMO in, I think that's fine, right? But for those who are bearish, and for those who look at this and say that, oh, for sure the share price will mean revert down, I just want you to remember that now at $2.50 earning per share, right? You multiply by 4, that's $10. And given that they are able to grow next year, right? It could be, like $15 or even $20 earning per share, right? At that level, we are talking about PE of between, 30 to 50. So that kind of PE is not that expensive. But of course, no one knows that in 2025, whether all these sales, are they able to sustain and continue to grow? Could they crash back down or not? That one, no one knows. But let's say if you think that at today's price, like what Kelvin mentioned, right, PE of 100, you need to look at the earnings is really going up very, very fast. So for those who are shorting the stock, I would say be careful and do it at your own risk. Yeah.
I'll just share a few things. It's not really, it's actually a bit related to them. Let's see. What happened during the dot-com bubble? During the 2000, right, all the companies were like investing into tech companies. The investment, it's not really the stock price, it's the investment. So companies back then were like, oh, this internet is a new thing, it will change everything. Everyone was investing a very huge amount into that. So, but right after the dot-com bubble, right, they realized that they were overspending in investments. Then everything started to drop back down. But I think this will slowly climb back up to meet this level, to meet the 2000 level. So right now, I feel like this whole AI thing is a bit similar to right now, where all the companies they realize, oh, this AI thing, this ChatGPT thing, we are very behind in the technology, so we have to scramble to catch up. So that's why they are spending a lot into AI. That's why Nvidia is selling a lot of GPUs right now. But I feel like the demand is still not there yet. So eventually they'll realize, oh, probably we are overspending on this kind of stuff. So Nvidia's the number of GPUs that they will sell eventually will revert back to the mean lah. But with that being said, I feel like this gold rush is very different from the dot-com bubble and the crypto one. Like the crypto one is okay, like it's quite useless. Half of the stuff are just for you farming. It's just games that promise profits. But eventually all of them are gone already lah. But for the AI space, is a lot different because okay, for one, let's say okay, this is the one that came out I think last week. Microsoft and this Epic is the game company. Epic, they are doing this AI thing to help with the healthcare. Okay, so it has real world use case lah. Then the other one is this brain implant that helps the paralyzed woman to speak using a digital avatar. This is also an AI thing also. Then the next thing, this is the Llama. Llama is by Facebook Meta. So Facebook, the thing about what that large language model, LLM, large language model, a lot of them are closed source. So you have to depend on third party. Depend on them. If they raise the price, you have to pay more. But for Meta, they release this Llama. So with it, you can just download the thing and train using your own server. So you don't have to be tied to other people. So Llama, this Llama actually can perform a lot better than ChatGPT. So that's another thing. So let's say if let's say for my YouTube, if I want to do because a lot of people are asking the same question over and over again. They rather ask than search for stuff. That's what people are. They are basically lazy to search for answers. So if I do this for my own YouTube, right, I put this into my Telegram. I can say, create my own chatbot. People will ask, how do I invest? Then the chatbot will answer their questions for them. I can do this using Llama. So this is another new development. Then this is also another one. On the last column, Llama is actually performing better than ChatGPT 3 . Then the recent one is also Llama has created this AI tool for coding. So I think overall there's a lot of development in AI and there are real use case. So this Nvidia's their GPU thing is sustainable. It's just that the share price is not that sustainable yet. I feel.
Yeah, that's true. I think essentially, like now you look at their revenues is going up a lot. Like why are people buying all these chips, right? Also because they are supporting the tools, the functionality that will coming in soon over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, right? So essentially it's a use case. If there's use case, especially use cases that people are willing to spend money on, then that will actually drive more investment into this area, and that will actually powering up the demands over the years to come, right? But if it is one-off thing, say for example, ChatGPT only useful for this specific chatbot thing, and over time people realize that it is useless, then in that case it can be a bubbles, right? But from my own observations is that I do think that these things is real in terms of like really increasing people's productivity. Just one small story, like my own experience, like how I say like why all this ChatGPT is very useful. So I don't have much experience doing coding. So like, I don't know coding at all. So that's my experience level. But recently I was trying to try to scrap something from the web. So in the past, let's say if we are able to download some Excel and for me to do scrapping, I know how to do it. That one is not even scrapping. It's just like you use programming, you download something, you process something. That's it. I know how to do that. Then recently, when I try to scrap something, which you need to click into the inspect and then go and search for all the Java things and look for the results. Meaning you programming something to interact with the web and choose whatever that you want and click download and repeat that many times, right? So these kind of things I don't know how to do. Like I really not that proficient, right? But I try to use ChatGPT to help me do it, right? So I do some coding and then there's error message. ChatGPT help me to fine tuning everything. So within like I would say 2 days, I'm able to do something that's quite useful. So this is like meaning people like me, like zero programming, can at least now I think perform maybe as good as someone that is quite like university intern okay, in those who in like majoring in computer science . So I think at least it brings the minimum to that level. In other words, right, all the other people's, right, that don't know codings, once you have all these co-pilot helping you, right, I think it's like the productivity just increase, right? So for companies, are you going to spend, let's say, $8,000 to hire someone who know codings? Or let's say if the task that is like simple enough, actually you can just hire someone who is like, $4,000 per month, and you just give the person's, the co-pilot, and let the person try out, and essentially it's like powering up by all these, ChatGPT, co-pilot. The productivity just increased, right? So I think companies are willing to spend this kind of money. And this is right now, I'm talking about programming. It will be in other areas as well. For example, like how someone who the job is like writing minutes. Now, last time you need people that really know how to write minutes. And I can tell you, writing minutes is very, very tough. A good minutes, right? It's not that easy. But once you have all these, AI tools that help you transcribe, help you writing minutes, all these things, right? Maybe someone who is like, like just a junior can do a very good job with that already. So I think all this productivity gain, right, is very high when you apply it on like how many millions of workers, right? So I think people are willing to spend this kind of money. That's also why I'm like long Nvidia, and at the same time I long Microsoft as well, because Microsoft is the front on the software side, whereas Nvidia is the one on the hardware side, right? So they all have different value. They creating different kind of values, yeah.
Eric, what would convince you to buy Nvidia?
What will convince me to buy Nvidia? I don't know, man. Like, I mean, Bunti was sharing about all this coding thing, right? Like, I totally, yeah. Even if we were co-pilot, I won't even be on the plane. So I don't know.
No, you have to try. You have to try once. I mean, okay, my experience with coding is always like this. You can do Google search, you can copy codes here and there. I mean, then you can put it to run, right? That part I think everyone can do. Copy codes. I think even Kelvin, you also copy codes all the time in your professional job as a programmer, right? But the most difficult part is not the coding and not the copy part. The difficult part is the debugging. Like got error, oh shit, I spent like 2 hours there, still stuck, right? Then you give up already. I think this part, right, is the part that actually all this copilot is very helpful. And I'm not saying that they solve 100% of the problem, but let's say if they just like solve 90% of your problem, then it make the success rate suddenly just 10x, right? Because now they are able to really assist you. And you don't have to ask people, you just like throw in the questions and ask all these generative AI tool. It's very, very helpful, I would say.
I think the coding part, right? Why I'm not doing it, because in the first place, I don't even know where to enter the code. You say copy and paste, like where to put it, paste on what?
Yes. That questions, ask it to ChatGPT. They will give you instruction. Yeah.
Okay. And anyway, recently, right, I was doing this article on my chemistry blog. I have a website, right? So I have this chemistry blog. So I did a post, an article. So I went to ask ChatGPT, right? Like, what's the difference between H2 chemistry and H3 chemistry? Then I asked it a few questions. Why should I take H3 chemistry? What's the benefits? Like, what's the causes that require H3 chemistry? I asked it a bunch of questions. And then every time it answered me, right? One thing I'm quite impressed is that they not only answer my question, they answer it in a very localized context. They were able to provide answers which cater to like a Singapore point of view. Like NUS has this course, that strongly give preference to history, chemistry because of this background and all that. Then I'm like, how does this ChatGPT know that I'm asking like from a Singapore context? Like they just somehow know it, maybe based on the data that they have from the place that I'm asking from. And then after that, they were able to give me some other prompts, like 4 or 5 prompts, like the next question I should ask. So I just click those, and then they answer again. Then they give me some more prompts, like maybe you should ask this question. And I'm like, what? You're even telling me what to ask? It's like, is I really went down the rabbit hole, and I'm just I would say an end user lah. I'm not like do look under the hood like, hey, what's in the code there? I don't really know. So I'm just basically like using the app like a layman, really a noob. I just type, what is this? Can you explain to me what is that? So I basically take those answer and I format it a little bit, edit a little bit of words here and there, put some colors, bold, whatever, put some heading, everything. And then I put it into the format of an article and post it on my blog. Differences between H2 and H3 chemistry. Basically, this is the question I asked the ChatGPT. Yeah, then they give me all these. And then they prompted this question. So then they give me this answer. Then they prompted another question. Give me this answer. Yeah, so very quickly, that's what I wanted to share. Like real world users, like we can use it immediately. It's like not perfect, but I think 90% is pretty well done. That took me about 10 minutes.
Yeah, in like 1 year time or 2 years time, or even now, right? That the part that you did, that 10 minutes, right, will also be done by the AI.
Yeah. I have no doubt they
Yeah.
are that
You-
smart.
Yeah, you could be writing blog now as you are speaking to us now. Your bot is writing it, you know.
By itself.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary. Yeah. So that was one use case for me as a end user. And I'm really pleased with the outcome. Like I look at the thing, it's like perfect English. I don't really need to check for spelling errors, and they contextualize it to our local context, which is something that it pleasantly surprised me. Because normally you expect this kind of bots to be like very global kind of thing, right? How do they know to zoom in, specialize, and focus on the area that you're in, localized knowledge? And they pull out the data from NUS website and all those things. And then basically they also put in the caveat, they say that, these data are accurate as of December
2011.
2022, something like that. You might want to do some additional lookup. So it's very good. I think this kind of help, so-called co-pilot, right, is really very, very useful for us. So for people who are still on the fence, not knowing whether they want to try AI, I think yeah, even for noobs like me, it can work pretty well. Yeah, don't even need any coding. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of areas that you can see the potential, but we haven't seen any working prototype. Like the Chat GPT is like a super good prototype for, you know, like text-based communications, right? With the robots, right? We are yet to see autonomous vehicle, like for example, you know, like robotics. We haven't seen robots walking around in our real life, right? So all these areas are still unexplored at this moment. But ultimately, anyone that comes up with all these autonomous vehicle, drones, everything, right? It still need to, as long as it's powered by AI, right? It needs all these back end hardware to support it. That's why I think that for companies like Nvidia, there's still a lot of potential in it. Yeah.
Eric, if you are just discovering this now, you are like 8 months late to the game.
No, I didn't discover this just now. I am just showing one of my recent use.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more development on AI already. So a while ago, Bundy shared with me this YouTube guy. He's called Matt Wolf, Mattwofe. He covers everything about AI. So every week, I will try to catch up on what's the latest development. So for example, right now, YouTube is doing this voice search, music search. So in the past, we are using this Shazam to you show them 3 second, 4 second of the song clip, right? And they will tell us the song name or whatever. But for YouTube, they're right now working on, if you hum the song into it, they can tell you the song that you are humming. So they are working on this right now. Then 11 Labs is doing this text to speech. Okay, it's already there, but Google has been doing that. But right now there are more companies achieving this technology already. So then recently the AI can see what the brain is thinking. They can visualize what the brain is thinking. And for example, like Midjourney is also, they can change the image based on your prompt. So previously Midjourney is just draw an image. Right now you highlight this part of the image. They say, oh, change this girl into a guy. They can just change the entire image. So there's a lot more thing happened since 8 months ago compared to 8 months ago already. And I think everyone is just trying to rush this entire gold mine.
His content is more on all these different AI tools. So weekly update, I think that there are many updates. Everything that come up in the AI world, he will update. I followed his channel for a while, and then recently maybe not so frequent because this area right really changed too fast already. You need to get updated on a daily basis. If not, it's like, oh, suddenly so advanced already, and we are left behind, you know.
Actually, do you guys still remember our target price for Nvidia? Like
500
when
plus, I don't know,
when
you
this
guys.
run first started, we were putting like, I think Chiking, Kelvin, and myself, right? Bunti, I think that day for some reason you weren't around, so we just like on the whim we were saying like, okay, this run can go up to where, can go up to where.
Yeah. So I found that lah. So I say it's $500. I think mine is same as Eric, $500. Chicken says $600. So that's our prediction for where the stock price will reach before it starts going back down lah.
But it has already touched 500, 50 something.
So now it's going back down.
Okay.
Oh no, Bundi says $620, $623.
Bunti was around
He later add in.
620. Wow, still some more
Oh, Bunti.
Bunti.
Okay
So
lah.
620 will you sell if it hits your target?
Not lah. I think if I have a very big exposure, right, and it shoot up to high figures, and then I look at my allocations, let's say it's like 30-40%. Yes, I think trim a bit down, I think makes sense. But for me, even now, Nvidia is my largest holdings, but it's still like, not that different compared to my second largest. It's like, I don't know what, 12 or 13% kind of allocations. It's still smaller, meaning that even if it crashed down by 50%, right, I'm not losing my sleep because of my diversified portfolio, right? So I think the good thing about diversified portfolio is this, like you don't have to keep on, buy in, sell out, these kind of things. I mean, just ready run. If it crash down and if the fundamentals still intact, I might add more. But let's say if crash down together with fundamentals also go down, so I'm not going to average down just because of the share is lower, right? So it's more like just steady kind of investing rather than look at it as a trade. Yeah.
As of now, right, do you see what kind of fundamental deterioration do you foresee might happen? I'm not saying will happen, might.
I would say the reason, if you look at their share price, right, it can shoot up by 2x and then crash back down 70%. And they did it like, don't know, 3 or 4 times in the past 10 years. So the reason is because their business, whenever the revenue goes up, right, their margins also follow. Margin also goes up. Their expenses didn't scale, meaning that there's a lot of operating leverage, meaning that if the revenue is up, everything looks good. Share price also looks good. And as soon as the revenue come down, right, their earnings will come down even more. So that's why this type of business is very volatile when you just look at the EPS numbers. So that's the characteristic of the company. And that's why when they have all this problem, not able to sell all their gaming graphic cards, there's inventory problem. This was like, like 6 months or 9 months ago, right? So everything looks gloomy back then. And now everything looks good. So I would say maybe don't have to overthink too much in terms of like all these complicated things. You just need to imagine that now how long can they sustain this kind of high growth now? I think it's the sales that drive everything. And now we have some assurance that up to 2024, everything looks good. But the question is, what will happen in 2025? By 2025, I imagine that all these big tech, right, they already have all this, like what I shown on my background here, like they have all this running already. Do they need more or not? Like, let's say they purchase 2 racks like this, right? Do they need 3 more? Do they need 5 more? So when they have enough, and the use case doesn't catch up, right? For sure, they will slow down their spending. And if that happens, right, I'm not saying the revenue can stagnate. Revenue can actually drop, it can drop by 30% year over year, 30%. I'm not surprised. If that happens, right, then everything just crashing down. The question is, can they sustain or not? And as of now, I would say 2025, analysts ask the management say, we don't have visibility because we talk about 2025 is all supported by the upcoming new architecture, new products that will come out over the next 12 to 24 months. And the macro environment in 2025, right, will be different, right? So could they sustain or not? I think this one, nobody knows, right? And if you are bullish on this outlook, right, then I will say even at current price isn't that expensive. But people are always, like skeptical on can they actually sustain, because you cannot imagine that the kind of money that Tesla, Microsoft, Meta, they're spending now, right? You cannot imagine this kind of level will keep compounding at like 50% year over year. Then what it means is that all their profit will just go to Nvidia, which doesn't make sense also, right? So that's why I would say it depends on how much revenue that you can imagine for 2025 and onwards. That's the key things to look at now. Yeah.
So for you, right, just coming back to the question that I was asking you, other than this, whether or not their revenue can sustain, you don't see any events that can like derail their growth lah. No supply chain issue.
Yeah, no, nothing
No,
much.
nothing
Now
much.
actually for semicon, the supply chain quite stable already. Yeah, I'm not saying like let's say you go and do a black swan event, another COVID, even more serious one, like 1/4 of the people's all died. This kind of scenario, of course, nothing
Yeah,
goes right.
nobody knows.
Yeah, but I'm saying that just talking about supply chain, I think supply chain side is fine. They are okay. And I don't think the companies, even if they can, right, I don't think they should, like just ramp up like crazy, because some ramping, right, is like you can just people increase the shift, that's fine. But if you, because of the demand now, you go and build like a lot more, right, like you procure more and spend a lot more money to induce TSMC to build more fabs, right, and eventually will end up with a situations where you oversupply, so I would say rather not do that and just a steady growth for now. Let the backlog is there, let it be, and at least you have more visibility down the road, right? I think that should be the way. I know that customers, they are unhappy to wait, but they just have to wait now, because you cannot like just fulfill everything now and then just build out everything later. If the demand is not there, then all this high capex, just like there's no return, right? So it makes zero sense for the company to do that now. So it is, they need to guide a kind of like a sustainable growth, rather than just do everything crazily, just hype up together with the customers.
Okay, I think that's all for our discussion today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. That's all. Bye.